Hello, and thank you for being a part of the SCAD Savannah Film Festival. My name is Isaac Liu, and I'm a performing arts sophomore from Fairfield, Connecticut. When it comes to tonight's honoree, it seems that every possible affirmation has already been said about her. At 16 years old, she has forged a meteoric rise in television and film and shares a SAG award with her fellow Stranger Things cast for outstanding performance by an ensemble in a drama series. It's often written and said that she behaves beyond her years, but in reality, she amplifies the very best qualities of our young generation. She is full of empathy, curiosity, and hope. As a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, she sees the world as one family, and her inspiring work has lifted children in need all across the globe. Brown is, in a word, iconic. In her latest film, Netflix's Enola Holmes, she brings her characteristic wit, intelligence, and charm to Victorian London. Step aside, Sherlock. There's a new great detective, and her name is Millie Bobby Brown. Let's take a look.
I'm not sure I ever described how a typical day's education worked with my mother. We'd start with history. And after lunch, I'd focus on fitness. Got to! Followed by fight combat. Hands up! Up! 11.
There's nothing for you back there. They cannot save you, Jane.
No. But I can save them.
Ladies and gentlemen, Maverick Award honoree Millie Bobby Brown. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much, Isaac. And thank you very much to President Wallace, SCAD, and the Savannah Film Festival. It's truly an honor to receive this year's Maverick Award. I feel so fortunate to have the opportunity to do what I do every day, to tell meaningful stories and to shine a light on powerful, complex, strong female characters like Enola and 11. To the SCAD students out there, I know it's been a challenging year, but please keep up the incredible work. You are all beautiful creatives with bright careers ahead of you. And as Enola said, it's important for us to remember that the future is up to us. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So hello and welcome to SCAD Savannah Film Festival, the largest university-run film festival in the U.S. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Brittany Kaplan. I am the senior editor from Entertainment Weekly, and I'm here with the Maverick Award-winning Millie Bobby Brown. So let's start the conversation.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with the most typical boring question that you must get all the time. When did you first know you wanted to be an actress?
I first knew I wanted to be an actor when I was, around 8 or 9 years old. I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time. And I just had this feeling inside of me that I just wanted to entertain people. So however that was, even if I was making them cry or laugh, I knew I wanted to do that. So around 8 or 9 years old.
So some of your first roles were on, beloved shows like the Once Upon a Time spinoff, one of my favorite shows, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, where you played young Alice. You were on Modern Family. You were even on Grey's, the staple of Grey's Anatomy. And what's so interesting about those shows and the roles you played, I went back to look at some of the clips again. And what amazes me, especially about Ones and Grey's, is how meaty and strong those characters were. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what it was like, not just to be cast on them, but what it was like to see those scripts and when you were booking them? Was that something that you looked at when you looked at those roles, and what it was like preparing at 8, 9, 10 years old for these types of roles?
I mean, when I was that young, which it sounds ridiculous, I'm only 16, you guys, but when I was a lot younger, so like 8 or 9, I was doing roles that, I was being sent stuff and I was just basically auditioning for anything. I mean, anything. There was no, like, I couldn't be choosy back then. But I definitely did gravitate to the more complex characters just because it was more of a challenge. And that was the stuff that I was better at. That's why I was getting the jobs. I think because I was challenging myself more, and maybe it came across more impressive, but I wasn't as good as at, you know, comedy and the more bubbly light stuff. So I was having casting directors telling me, you know, you're acting too mature for your age, and we need somebody who's going to jump up and down and scream, "Mommy, can you get me cupcakes?" I'm not going to do that. Like, I can't do that. I need to cry. I need to scream. Let me scream. Like, I can scream for you. Let me, you know, let me do things that are a lot more harder and complex, and maybe I can do that better. And so then I started to realize that I could do that a lot better. And that was what was getting me the roles. Obviously, now growing up a little bit more and having more experience, I love comedy too. And that's why Enola Holmes definitely challenged me, because it put me in that comedic kind of environment where I actually had to learn about timing and jokes and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't choosy on the roles back then, but I definitely gravitated and was better at doing more difficult roles.
Okay, I'm going to get to Enola Holmes because I have to tell you, I'm
Yes.
obsessed and I am such a Sherlock fan. And I can't even tell you how this, and I knew all about Sherlock's secret sister and all that. So this was one of my favorite roles that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
Talk all about that, and I'm going to talk your ear off. But let's just talk a little bit about 11 because I want to go a little chronologically here. What do you remember when you first saw that script? What drew you to that character in particular?
To be honest with you, I was 11 years old. I don't think I really knew like what. I mean, I definitely didn't know what it was going to be like. So,
Right.
you know, I just kind of tried everything. But I read the script at the read through for the first time because we didn't get sent them before. And I read the script at the read through, and I didn't know that she had superpowers before that. So I shaved my hair off, and I didn't even know she had superpowers, which is, I think it's so funny. Like, I didn't even ask her background. I was like, yeah, okay. So I found out she had superpowers, and I started to realize that these were intense scenes. And my parents were like, "Do you know what you're gonna do?" And I was like, "No, like I have no idea. Like we'll see what happens." And I went onto set, and I was doing these crazy scenes, and I just remember like not even giving a second thought about it. I was just doing what came to my head. So I got the scripts, and I was just, all right, let's do this, let's do that. I want to put my head down every time she does her superpowers. And the Duffer Brothers were like, okay. So I was just doing things that became very instinctual to me. And that's what 11's always been like, is very instinctual. Like, I still go onto set, and it's not like I wing it, but I definitely I don't have to try to be 11 anymore. She's in my heart forever.
Right.
And like, I feel like she's just part of me. So she does come out, and there are, don't get me wrong, there are times where I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I'm not like full of ideas. Like, I do think like, I don't know what to do in this moment, but that's what comes with being an actor and the challenges. But with other roles, I have to prepare. Whereas 11's always been kind of someone that comes very instinctually to me.
So one of the things that I love most about 11 and Stranger Things is, and particularly the way you play the character and the way you've talked about her, and even just the way you were talking about her now, is that she's helped make, and you have helped make sci-fi and thriller cool for girls of all ages. Because I think that there was a time when it was, and then it became not cool again.
Mm-hmm.
And has that been something that you've thought about, and that you've thought about behind the scenes and thought about like as you play her and everything? Because it's awesome that sci-fi and thrillers are able to be cool for everyone now.
Right. I mean, listen, I've never been fully into sci-fi. I love thriller, but not sci-fi. But I meet, fans and young girls who are like freaking out about just the fact that she has superpowers, and she's a girl, and that they can relate to her, and that she has a shaved head. And so now, having watched more sci-fi things and, shows that I mean, I know maybe Vampire Diaries isn't fully sci-fi, but it's definitely, I mean, I love
What are you
Vampire
talking about? There's vampires everywhere.
Yeah, and so I definitely have taken into mind that young girls who are definitely into more of that genre definitely relate and connect more with 11, which obviously is the biggest. It's such a flattering compliment because it just makes me think they want to be like her. And to be honest with you, I want to be like 11. She's so strong and emotionally capable of handling almost anything, and that's what's terrifying. Because the Duffer Brothers will never stop writing. But I definitely think that yeah, young girls that are interested in that. My younger sister Ava, she loves sci-fi, anything sci-fi. She's watching, these videos of these video games and things like that, and they're just all very mysterious, and she likes that stuff. I was more into like playing with dolls and pretending to be a mum and doing the kitchen and pretending all that. That's what I was like. I love to pretend. My little sister is glued to her iPad and looking at sci-fi stuff, so hopefully I'm somewhat of an inspiration to her when she's older, when she watches the show.
I love it. And 11's grown so much over the last few seasons. And as a young woman who's grown beside her, how fulfilling has it been to be able to showcase such strong empowerment to young women?
It's the most fulfilling part about my job, I think. There's so many women right now that are in the industry that really inspire me. Angelina Jolie, Natalie Portman, Winona Ryder, and then there's young people like Yara Shahidi and Riley Keough, and I have many inspirations in this industry, especially women, that just are not afraid. They're not afraid to take on difficult roles that can be controversial. I love that. I think that that's what we need to start doing. I think Enola Holmes can be a little, not controversial, but definitely talks about things that are more taboo. And that's what I love. I mean, that's what we need to start talking about. If we're never going to talk about it, the problem's never going to be solved. So the more stories that are told about equality and women's rights, hopefully that's going to make a difference. But it's definitely fulfilling to see young girls and sometimes even women look at me and see inspiration. But usually in those moments, I take the time to think about the women before me that helped me get to where I am. And also when people find me inspiring, I actually find them really inspiring. They usually tell me stories that are just amazing and make me want to do what I do even more. So I think inspired women inspire women, and that's a quote I live by.
I love that. It's one of my favorites. All right, so let's talk about Enola Holmes. As I said, I could not be more obsessed. I heard your sister Paige brought you the books. Is that true? Tell me a little bit about the background there.
Yes, so my Paige is definitely a bookworm. She's always been like that. I mean, she'll start a 300-page book, and then on the plane, and then by the time we land, it's done, and she's upset because someone died in it and she loves them. And so this is her. I mean, Harry Potter is her favorite book series. So for me, I've always been into movies. That's just my thing, and obviously I encourage girls to read books. It's part of school academics and education, and I love reading books. Now I've grown to like reading books. But what I will say is Paige has always been like that, and I've always been more visually. I love to create visually. So she came to me and said, Millie, you are going to be immersed by this world around you. I mean, you are going to want to be Enola. I want to be Enola. So, of course, I read the series and I loved her. I fell in love with her. I wanted to play her tomorrow. And at that time, I was playing 11. So I was playing 11 on season 2. But I didn't care. I was like, I don't care. I want to be Enola. So immediately I went to my father and we basically just created it. It was like we have a production company, and we found another production company to help bring this to life. We found a writer who actually wrote the screenplay for Harry Potter. So Paige was very happy. And then we found producers, and we found our director who I FaceTimed with, and then we basically just created from there. And we pushed to get this story to come to life because I believe that sometimes in Hollywood there are stories that are going to be told and then never get to be. So we definitely wanted this one to be, and we were not letting this one slide. We were sending emails every single week asking on updates and updates and updates, and we finally got to film it, and then that's how it really got to start.
I think that's also such an important lesson for the students who are watching here today, that if there is something that you are passionate about and there's something that you really want to see,
yeah,
you believe this is going to be such a moment, there are
yeah.
ways you can make it happen.
Yep. I really believe that, because I read books. I mean, I read a book when I was a lot younger that I'm just working on right now, and I'm like, Dad, we need to get this to work. We need to have this happen. I don't want to do this in 4 years' time. I want to do it now, and I believe we can. So to anyone who's watching this, if you have a story that you want to tell it, because it's most likely very relevant to right now, and it's relevant to you, and what's important to you should be made. So,
and I mean, the other thing that just thrills me as a woman in this industry is that you guys produced it. So you and your sister, and your dad, of course, worked on it, but you and your sister got to produce this. What was the difference in producing and acting? I mean, you did a lot, and the physicality of this movie is amazing, but what was it like to be able to work on this from a production standpoint?
Well, I mean, it's obviously very different. It's the first opportunity that I've ever had to produce anything, and I'm so used to being on screen. So I actually had a really big say off of screen, which I got used to very quickly because I had great people around me supporting me and encouraging me. But yeah, I mean, you know, we had an amazing producer on set. Her name was Ali Mendez, and she inspired me every day. I mean, she would come to set, she had a baby, and she inspired me. She had so many ideas, and she wasn't afraid to say it, and I loved that. And that's what really kept me going throughout filming, was just the fact that she was so inspiring and really supportive. And then obviously our amazing director, Harry Bradbeer, who is just the kindest man ever, and I just absolutely adore him, and he was always encouraging me and supporting me, and let me do my ideas and let me take action, which I thought was so special. Don't get me wrong, there are challenges with being a producer, apparently. You know, you do have to think of everything, and luckily we had a bunch of people doing that for me, but you know, I was really helping plan out the plot of the story and talking with the other actors about what they wanted to do, and really talking to Harry for 4 hours a day in these meetings that were lengthy and just talking about everything. Whereas usually I just come to set and act. So I had 2 months prep, which I've never done before.
Right. It seems like you purposefully pick projects with meaningful, strong female characters and meaningful messages. Is that a choice? Do you actively search for them?
Absolutely. I never want to play someone who's just hasn't got a meaning to it, doesn't have a purpose, doesn't have, you know, relevancy to today. I feel like all of my characters have relevancy to today. I feel like 11 shows a strong girl who's going through emotional trauma, and as of right now, as a teenager, young girls go through a lot, and I don't think that we're given enough credit for that. You know, we have to deal with society and what society tells us to do, and you know, in certain countries, young girls are going through a lot of things, and that can be emotional trauma, and that's what 11 definitely deals with. She also deals with people telling her what to wear, what to be, who to be, and that's what girls also go through, is people telling them who they want them to be. That can be boyfriends, that can be friends, that can be society, that can be social media, and that's what 11 brings to the table. And then Enola, you know, you have her in a chaotic society around her, and she doesn't feel like she can use her voice to the fullest potential. And then by the end of the movie, she gets to find who she really is and her purpose. So every character I choose to be has some relevancy to today, and that's why I choose them, because I know that there are girls out there that are watching that feel the same way. So
there's been such a push in the industry to make sure there are more of these opportunities for women, to make sure that there are more roles or more availability to produce these things.
Yep.
Do you find that it's any easier to pick these roles because there are more opportunities for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I always think to myself, like Natalie Portman for me, I always get told I look like her. So when I got told that for the first time, I watched all of her projects in like one sitting. And I got the opportunity to meet her, and does a lot for women's rights, as well as Jessica Chastain, who I absolutely adore. And so Angelina Jolie, you know, these are, you know, remarkable women that do so much for young people like me, young girls like me, that get to be in this industry and get to choose the roles and actually get a seat at the table, you know, get to be in the office with the men surrounding me and get to say, hey, I want to tell my story and this is the way I want to tell it. So I am very well aware that the women before me and the women right now that are very successful and are icons have done so much for us young girls that get to do this. There are still issues, there are still problems. We haven't fully resolved the issue, but those are things that I have to face and that I have to talk about as well. And so I only inspire girls to talk about those things. And
speaking of that, you absolutely do. One of my favorite lines in Enola is, you have to make some noise if you want to be heard. I literally jumped up. I was like, I need to write that down. I need to put it on a wall somewhere. And you know, one of the things I admire most about you is you recognize that platform that you have. Mm-hmm. You're one of UNICEF's, or you are UNICEF's, I think, youngest Goodwill ambassador, right?
Yes.
And you've given 2 speeches to the UN, if I'm correct. How did that come about? How did your involvement with that come about? And why do you feel it's so important at such a young age to be out there? I just have so much admiration for you about that.
Thank you.
When I was your age, I was like, wait, could I talk about something? Is this okay?
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, obviously, it's an incredible honor to be able to even say that that's part of my title in a way, you know, because from a very young age, I've always watched UNICEF commercials, and I've always said to my parents, donate, 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 and they've always donated. UNICEF has been a very big part of my childhood just because I've always seen them, and my mum has always showed me videos of what these children and what these young people are living through. And it's always broken my heart. At 8 years old, at even 6 years old, I was watching videos because my mum always says, you know, I always used to say, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And she said, just because you're not watching it doesn't mean it's not happening. So face it. And this is what young children are going through. And you can do something about it. And so even when I didn't have a platform, I always thought, oh, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to have all young people be able to do this. And so now I actually have the platform. I have to act on it. So I had worked with UNICEF here and there. And I had been, you know, working for them at any break I got to. And then I hosted their 70th annual ball for World Children's Day, and that was the biggest thing I did with them. And then obviously after that, I obviously got awarded that title, which was an incredible honor. And you know, it's been going on from there. But yeah, I mean, lots of young girls are like, what do I talk about? What do I feel passionate about? Am I allowed to talk about it? But here I am to tell you, yes, definitely talk about it. We want to hear what you have to say.
I think it's fantastic. And you know, 2 of the things that you spoke about in a recent speech to the UN, you spoke about not talking down to young people, which I thought was fantastic. You also have been open about talking about dealing with anxiety, which I myself have experienced. And, you know, I think those are such important things to talk about and timely to the students that are listening today. So I just wanted to say, you know, in this time of uncertainty, you know, kids are, I shouldn't call it anybody kids, I mean, say young people, wish I were again with you guys. You know, what advice do you have to these students that are, you know, thinking about getting into the industry and about to kind of walk into that world and just looking for jobs and stuff in the industry and just
I mean, this industry is an amazing industry if you're interested in storytelling. You know, I just would stick by the I guess the most corniest and cringiest quote, which is just don't give up. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of rejection. There's gonna be a lot of no's. If you're interested in acting, you're gonna get a lot of no's. And just in the job, even just interviews and things like that, you know, you're not gonna get the first job. I mean, if you do, congratulations. But if you don't, please don't give up, because there are so many opportunities out there that you just have to look for and you have to take. And you know, experience is experience, so get as much as you can in. I was doing roles that were tiny that I was in for 4 minutes, but it's the fact that I got to work with the people and shake their hand and say hello and get experience, and that's what you need. And always do it because you love it, and if you're not having fun anymore, don't do it. That's what I stick by. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful that I get to do what I do, but I have fun with it too.
I love that. I also wanted to give a shout out to your amazing, amazing, amazing clean beauty line, Florence by Mills, because I think it's fantastic. And also say that one thing that I love that you did is, first of all, you have the most inclusive, wonderful campaign with just the most beautiful girls, but you also included a woman with a shaved head, because you were talking about how when you had a shaved head with 11, it was just like you weren't used to people treating you a little bit differently, which I think is so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, and I always take it with a pinch of salt. And to anyone watching, you know, this is to anyone out there that feels, you know, that like they're not included in the cool group. I had a shaved head at 11 years old. And surprisingly, I was living in Georgia at the time, and people were looking at me as if I was some alien from outer space. And I wish I was over exaggerating, but I wasn't. There were experiences that left me in tears. I mean, I felt like I was walking down the street and everyone was looking at me, and people thought I was a boy, people thought I was sick. And what if I just wanted to, what if I just chose to shave my head? Like, why wasn't that just an option? But people assume because people judge, and that's one of the worst things in the world is judgment. And so, you know, I included a girl with a shaved head because that should become normalized. I mean, what is so crazy about that, you know? It's because society tells us that girls have long hair and boys have short hair. And why is that a thing? You know, I love having short hair and I would cut my hair tomorrow. It doesn't matter about that. You know, I was doing a job because I loved what I did and because I wanted to play this character. But I was walking down the street and I was feeling like people were judging me. And these grown adults were laughing in my face about it, you know, and it's mortifying, and it definitely brings down your character. And I had struggles with that for a really long time, kind of worrying what people thought of me. But I just have grown to be like, people now are like, I love your shaved head, and I'm like, I take that with a pinch of salt, because you never know, you know. And what I've come to, it's kind of like at the end of Enola, you know, when she comes to the realization, I've come to the realization that I loved my shaved head. Doesn't matter about what you thought. I appreciate maybe you liked it, but what I will say is I loved it and my family loved it, and that's all that matters to me now.
Right. Well, I think that's fantastic. And I want to leave everybody with this, and I hope this quote is right. I found it, but I'm looking at some stuff for you. If it's not, I apologize and please correct me. But I was looking at some really interesting stuff, articles, and I was doing some research, and I read that your goal, your Instagram page, your goal of your Instagram page is to spread love and positivity.
Yes.
And I love that, because I think, especially because we're talking to students and people who are trying to like build personalities as they go out into the world and stuff like that. And I know, like, when I look at socials and stuff, it's just so hard, but I just love that. And I love that everything about you with empowerment and women's positivity and everything, that is just such a good message that seems to encapsulate you as a person. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. Congrats on your award.
Thank you.
I think that's all the time we have, unfortunately, but a big virtual round of applause for you today. And thank you for your participation.
Thank you so much. You had amazing questions, and I hope to get to meet you in person.
Well, I know. Hopefully soon. It would be lovely to see you soon.
Yes.
And enjoy the rest of SCAD Savannah Film Festival.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
You. Bye.